Welcome, my little ponies, to another Fim Music interview. My name is Mathematicus, and I am joined today not by the rescuer that the world needs, but the rescuer that the world deserves. Please join me in welcoming Cherax Destructor.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be here.
Now, the question of the century, as always, is who is the best Rescuers Down Under mouse?
Geez, it's divided a lot of people, hasn't it? There's been a lot of controversy over this. I think it's a trick question. I think the best Rescuer Down Under is actually chapter 26 of Vinyl and Octavia University Days, the Australia special. I think when the two of them rescue each other over Sydney on the top of the Harbour Bridge. That was my favorite rescue down under.
Right. Now, I know that rescuing people has always been a big part of your musical identity. Can you tell us a bit about your first rescue?
Oh, man. Let me just cast my mind back. I mean, I've been rescued since about, as early as I can remember. My mother was a rescuer, and she would...
Down under.
Yes, down under. We were all down under at the time, and still are, actually, inescapably, in fact. And she would be rescuing 9 to 5 for a living, bringing home the bacon with her rescuing. But she'd come home, and me and my sisters would, we'd jump into her arms and say, rescue me, mommy. And she was kind enough to oblige. So there's been rescuing going on in my family for as long as I can remember. And I think that must have influenced me into wanting to rescue people in turn. I think ultimately my mother is the source of all of that. Thanks, Mom. I love you.
Well, it certainly shows through with your music. Now, what did it feel like when you first realized that you rescued music?
It's the weirdest thing, It's not one moment of realization. People always think that there are these pinpoint moments where everything changes, but really it's a process. I was working on the rescue for about 6 months before it came out, and then over the course of the next 6 months, as it was climbing up the charts, getting that international reach and that radio airplay, it was more of a gradual dawning of what I was doing, the weight of it all, the huge momentum behind this great rescue that was going on of music. And it was about 13 months after I'd started work on the rescue that one of my friends, I think it was Anne the Rainfall, I remember it vividly, he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "Do you know what you've done? Do you know what you've done? You've rescued music." And I couldn't find the words. He held me in his embrace and I cried tears of joy. And I said, "Thank you, because I couldn't have rescued you without you."
You have rescued not only music, but so many billions upon billions of people that have heard the rescue.
Oh, shucks. Come on. It's not that big a deal.
Do you have a favorite instrument or device with which you rescue things?
I've actually, thanks largely to the success of the rescue, been able to invest in a startup company of my friends that's pioneering the latest instrument in rescuing technology. It's called the Rescuetar, and it's based on a guitar, but with more built-in rescuing functionality. So there's like next to the whammy bar, there's a rescue bar, and you have a choice of bridge pickup, neck pickup, and rescue pickup. So I've been really favoring the Rescuetar lately. I think that's where the future of rescuing is headed.
Indeed, and on the Cherax Rescue channel, you've been running a number of Let's Break Down the Rescue videos. Are there any points at which we can pick out the soft and subtle tone of the Rescuetar in the breakdown videos?
Oh, you'll hear it if you keep an ear out for it, certainly. You can hear it at the start, you can hear it through the verses, and the outro. It's in the outro as well. It's also in the choruses, both choruses and all of the verses and the bridge and the breakdown and the outro and the intro. So just keep an ear out for it. You'll probably hear it.
Let's talk about your influences. Can you tell us about your favorite rescue in My Little Pony?
Well, canon or non-canon? That's the question.
Well, let's go with both.
All right. Well, my favorite rescue in non-canon would be Vinyl and Octavia University Days. I think that's very obvious. There's a scene in which Vinyl rescues Octavia from the clutches of her tyrannical mother, who is descending. She's a pterodactyl, and she's descending from the skies to pluck Octavia off of the ground and take her away to her nest. And canon-wise, my favorite rescue would probably be in Slice of Life from season 5. The scene in which Vinyl and Octavia, who finally make a canon appearance. I mean, my heart was pounding. I don't know about all you bronies out there. They finally make a canon appearance, and they're doing a play, a dramatic reenactment of Vinyl and Octavia University days. So once again, the pterodactyl descends, portrayed by Princess Luna, and Vinyl, portrayed by Princess Celestia, has to rescue her. And it's just so heart-wrenchingly done, so faithfully recreated. I loved it.
Absolutely. As you said, my heart was pounding, my sugar-coated queen.
Oh, that's a reference to my earlier work, Rescue.
Right.
Very
I'm not
cheaply
sure
done.
you're aware of just the vast magnitude of the rescue fandom that's developed around your work. Do you interact much with your rescue fans?
Look, it's a hard trade-off to maintain of how much do you reach out and rescue all of these people who have been touched by your rescue and want to be rescued themselves, but still maintaining that connection, but without letting that rescue rescue you and taint what rescues you might do in the future, because I want my rescues to be pure and original. And if I'm rescuing others and they're rescuing me, it all gets mixed up, and who knows what might happen.
Now, recently you've started the Rescue Destructor Patreon. What is it like to now have your rescues crowdfunded?
Oh, it's fantastic. Patreon really rescued me financially from being destitute. And so I'm very excited about the future of my Page Rescue. And I would highly recommend, if I can take a second just to plug it, if that's okay, please head over to my Page Rescue page. It's pagerescue.com/cxd rescue. And you can buy any number of rewards from me. For a monthly donation, you can get access to works in progresses of future rescues. I can mail you your own personalized rescue. We're investing in the future. You can get posters of the rescue. You can get printed copies of the rescue on CD, vinyl, and tape. And you can get matching Hers and Hers rescue towels. It's all happening over on the Pitch Rescue, and I highly recommend that you head on over there and give me money.
And do you also offer an Octavia rescue to go along with the vinyl rescue?
Oh, we rescue a vast base of ponies. You can get vinyl rescues and Octavia rescues, but we're expanding. You can get Lyra rescues and Bonbon rescues. You can get a rescue of almost every named character from Vinyl and Octavia University days, even the ones who don't say anything. It's that important to us that everybody be rescued.
That is just so noble. I'm seriously touched. Now, the rescue wouldn't be what it is without the broader influence of rescues at large throughout all of human culture, not just My Little Pony. Can you tell us a bit about your favorite rescue in The Littlest Pet Shop?
Oh gosh, I mean that's dating very far back. Now I haven't read too much into
I believe
The
it was the 3rd century BC.
Yes. Now I did do some archaeology in university, and so I have seen some of the pictographic depictions of rescuing ceremonies over the years from various cultures. And I think LPS culture really had its own unique take on the rescuing. There would be an altar at the top of a large stepped pyramid. It would be up to 100 meters high. They would spend years building these very elaborate, ornate pyramids, and then the chosen rescuee would be placed at the top by the parents, walked up almost like a marriage ceremony. And I think there's something really beautiful in that overlap of rites. And the rescuers would all start at the bottom and vie for the first place of rescuing the rescuee by
Down
running
under,
up this
if you
pyramid.
will.
Oh, they would start down under, but they would end up on top. It was a very elaborate and painstaking, very, very grueling physical exercise. And I think that would make the rescuing all that more meaningful,
Right.
when it finally happened.
You can definitely tell the influence of that coming through with the rising crescendos you play on the Get Rescue in the
That's
rescue.
exactly what I'm so glad you picked up on that. If
Oh,
you
of
actually
course.
put the rescue through a spectrogram, you will see the bridge between verse 2 and chorus 2, a pictographic representation of a Little Pet Shop rescue, in fact.
That is absolutely beautiful. Now, it may not be a well-known secret, but the Rescue to Rescue is actually a fairly large fan of Game of Thrones. Can you tell us your favorite Game of Thrones rescue?
Oh, and there's so many to choose from. My favorite was, and this is season 1 spoilers. So look, I think we're past the point, where I can safely talk about season 1 spoilers without offending too many people. There's a beautiful scene in the finale of season 1 where Eddard Stark is about to be beheaded, but a pterodactyl descends and plucks him away from the reaches of the executioner and takes him away to Winterfell, where he lives happily for the rest of the series. That to me was very momentous. I had a lot of emotional, worth invested in Eddard's character, and I'm so glad that he made it.
And
out
his
of that.
rescue.
Exactly. I mean, we spent so long just wondering, how is he going to be rescued? Who is going to come to his rescue? Vinyl and Octavia don't exist in this canon universe. Who will rescue him? And it was so gratifying to see who it was in the end.
And it's so beautiful to see Lauren Faust putting that historical influence into the episode that she wrote and directed, Slice of Life, where the pterodactyl again is rescued.
Right. The network of crisscrossing cultural influences from Game of Thrones to My Little Pony to Littlest Pet Shop, all through this very rich tapestry of culture, really has profoundly affected me and my own rescues, I do believe. I hope that one day my own rescues can be as detailed and cross-cultural as Faust's.
And speaking of your own rescues, can you tell us a little about your favorite rescue in Lost No Longer?
My favorite rescue in Lost No Longer, it's difficult to pick something so close to my heart, but I would have to say that of all of Lost No Longer, my favorite rescue is Braden Plus actually rescuing the listener from the rescue.
Yeah, that was a really beautiful moment in the rescue, the way that the rescue rescues the rescue, and it is Lost No Longer, of course. And could you finally tell us just a little bit about your favorite rescue in The Rescue?
Oh gosh, no. You know how this is like you're asking a mother to pick her favorite child, Of course there's an answer, but I can't tell you publicly because I'd look like a bad person. I love all of the rescues in The Rescue. I love that rescue, I love this rescue, I love those rescues. All rescues to me are precious and beautiful, and I love them equally.
And who could blame you? Now, can you tell us what's next for The Rescue?
Oh wow, we have all sorts of rescuing in store for the future, folks. 2016 is the year of the rescue. If you thought you were rescued before, just you wait. It's really heating up. We are really, really ready to rescue. Once again, head on over to the Kickstarter for my Patreon page, patrescu.com/cxdrescue, where you can be a part of the coming rescue.
Right, and I believe that you're going to be offering your Petrescuans a complimentary rescue.
That's right, we've got rescues out the wazoo. You get a rescue, look under your seats, you're all getting rescues. We have too many rescues. We are giving them away. Anyone, everyone can and should and will be rescued. We're going to rescue you from being rescued. We're going to rescue you from the rescue from the rescue. We're going to rescue 2016 from the rescue. We're going to rescue 2017 from 2016. We're going to rescue the rescue. We're going to rescue the rescue from the rescuing of the rescue. We're going to unrescue the rescue so we can rescue the rescue again. We're going to rescue. My
Little Ponies, thank you for joining me on another Film Music interview. This has been Cherax Destructor and Mathematics. Right, but we need to redo it. So first, I'll say...
Oh,
we do.
I thought it was fine.
No, we do.
We're gonna rescue. Ah, can we?
We're very close to done. Complimentary rescues for your Petrescuers. Petrescans. The Petrescans. The Patrescans. The Patrescuscans.
Patrescunes.
The Patrescues. That's the Patrescues.
So once again, the pterodactyl descends. Hang on. Something about pterodactyls. I don't know. So yeah, my mother would. She was a professional rescuer, but she would come home and rescue me and my sisters as well, recreationally. And shut up!
You're doing such a good job. You're doing
Stop
such
laughing!
a good...
You can set me off.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I don't even know how to respond to this. And they're doing a play, a dramatic reenactment of Vinyl and Octavia University days. So once again,
God damn it.
I can do this.
You're going to offer your I can't.
Petrescunes.
Petrescunes. Your Petrescunes a complimentary rescue.
Exactly. I mean, we spent so long thinking, how is he going to be rescued? Who will rescue him?
I'm sorry.
I heard that.
I'm
I heard
sorry.
that.
You have to do it.
She's a pterodactyl and she's descending from the skies to pluck Octavia off of the ground and take her away to her nest.
Okay, you can do it. You can do it.
All right, just give me that one. I made it 8 minutes. It's okay, I'm a professional.